Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Wild Camper's Diary. My name is Ben, and the aim of this podcast, if you're here for the first time, is for me to offer you my thoughts on the world of wild camping, reflections and insights on my own experiences, and hopefully, fingers crossed, some inspiration along the way. So, welcome to episode 5, which I have called Getting Spooked in the Woods. And the reason for this podcast is due to an experience that I had last weekend. And if you follow my YouTube channel, Londoner Outdoors, you may not have seen my latest wild camping video. I'll put a link to that video in the podcast description. But in summary, what happened was I went out into the woods, into the forest for a little overnighter, a little wild camp, and I took a mesh tent, so a tent where you can see all the way around, 360-degree view of the forest. And the intention behind this was because it's been really hot in the southeast of England, and I wanted to keep myself cool, wanted to sort of set it up in a particular configuration, and so on. So all of that went really well, and I settled down for the night, and I lay there and I couldn't really get to sleep. And then I think I drifted off for an hour or so, and then I think around sort of midnight I got awoken by voices, and I thought I heard a man's voice, and I could hear some women's voices kind of laughing in the woods around me. And it's the woods. People are allowed to go out for walks in the middle of the night, so I completely accept that. But I think when you're on your own and you're in the woods and you hear those noises, you are on kind of heightened alert. And I think that was what I experienced last weekend. I kind of let it go, I ignored it, and then I heard the noises again, and I sat up and I looked out of all four sides of my lovely cool mesh tent, and I couldn't see anything, and I couldn't see any torches kind of in the distance, which kind of made my brain kind of run away with itself and jump to conclusions perhaps. And then what I did was I got my OS Maps app up on my phone, and I was checking to see where the nearest buildings were, how far away civilization was, and I would estimate it was a couple of miles radius. I saw a pub a couple of miles away, so maybe some people have gone for a late night walk in the forest. Some people do that. And then I kind of lay down, then I kind of heard it again, and it felt like it was nearer. But then I had to sort of remember that when you're outside, sounds can carry over quite a large distance, and it might seem nearby, but it actually isn't, and it's further away than you might think. So I had to kind of consider that, even though I was feeling slightly on edge. And then the other thing was I could see everything around me in the forest, and so I had the kind of these voices, whatever they were, and then I could kind of see the forest around me. So I kind of understand why some people would rather not see the forest around them and their surroundings and be cocooned in a tent with an outer tent, a fly sheet around them. That kind of makes sense, because what you can't see, you can't be afraid of. But then I suppose the flip side of that is you might want to see what's out there to feel safer. It's different for all of us, isn't it? So yeah, it just got me thinking: am I actually enjoying this? Am I actually enjoying camping in the woods, in forests on my own? And some of the times I am, but then there are other times where I'm thinking, am I just doing this to make a video, or am I actually doing this because I'm really enjoying it? Um, I haven't got the answer to that question, because I do love the woods and I do love solo wild camping, as you know. But it also got me thinking about the power of the brain and past experiences that I've had. I remember a few years ago I was wild camping on a hill, and I got awoken in the night by a light, what I thought was a light, shining in through my tarp on my face, and I woke up with a jump, thinking, "What is that? What is that?" And I was convinced, my brain playing tricks, running away with itself, that a ranger or someone had found me and was shining their torch on me and trying to, turf me out, move me on. What it turned out to be was the light on my phone just lighting up the tent. I think it was a WhatsApp notification, and it kind of lit up the tent. But of course, my brain, and in that situation and in the dark, thought it was something else. Um, I've spoken to some other friends about this online recently, and they were telling me about experiences where cows or sheep or wild ponies or whatever have been snuffling around their tents, and they've been absolutely petrified and kind of been spooked in that way. So I think it's normal. I don't think this is some new thing. Obviously, I think loads and loads of people experience it, and I think it's normal. It's natural, and I think it's sort of inbuilt into our brains, isn't it? Fight or flight, to be ready and be alert for whatever it is or whatever it isn't. So I do love the woods, and I do love camping in forests, and there's something very, very special about it, particularly in the daytime and sort of in the evening before it gets dark, and just that escape from everything. You can very quickly get away when as soon as you walk into a forest or into the woods, and I'm a big advocate for that, and I won't stop doing that. So does this mean I'm going to stop wild camping on my own in woods and forests? No, I don't think I'm going to stop, but I think I would consider maybe sharing that experience with someone else or other people and collaborating a little bit more, just because I want to relax and just enjoy it and not feel spooked. Uh, so yes, that's where I am on that. Does this contradict one of my previous podcasts about solo wild camping, where I was talking about the pros and cons of solo wild camping? I don't think it does. I'm a big fan, big advocate of solo wild camping, and I think that, yeah, I'm still going to camp alone. I just might not do it as much in woods and forests, and might turn up a bit more on coastal camps and hills and Dartmoor and places like that. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. It's just my experience, and as I said, this podcast is about me just emptying my mind, emptying my thoughts, and sharing my experiences of these wild camps with you. So it's a short one today. That brings me to the end of this podcast. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts and you've got a couple of minutes just to hit the star rating, or even a few lines of a review, that would make a massive difference. It really helps grow the podcast. I am going to try and do my best to make this a weekly podcast as much as I can. If I do find that tricky, I'll let you know on social media. I know there wasn't one last week. Had a bit of an equipment issue, but that is now resolved. But I am going to try and make this a weekly podcast for people to listen to. So thank you again. Take care. And I'll see you again for another episode of A Wild Camper's Diary.